I chose scenario one, the gaming company. I started off making my ER diagram. I started with my users table and I linked out and I did my equipment table and I linked out to see how much which columns would have more information, have more than one information inside of the row or the column. And I made a table based off of that. And I took and I exported and I got my code. I put it in my SQL Pro and it made my tables for me. My user table, it has all the user information in there, the username, last name, username. I'm sorry, first name, last name, username, password, and date of birth. It has the user type ID and the user status ID. For the user, these last two columns, they will point to a user type table and a user status table because we can have um, different types for each. So I made a table for those also that has a status ID and a user status and a type ID and a user type. I then made my equipment table with all of the main information in it with the equipment ID, the equipment name, the description of the equipment, the damage that the equipment does, the armor rating that the equipment has on it, the healing amount of the equipment, the healing rate, the price of the equipment, and the equipment type ID will point to an equipment type table because we can have different types of equipment types of potion or weapon, maybe like an energy booster. Um, it can be different equipment types, so that's why I made a different table for the equipment type to point to the equipment, to point from the equipment table to the equipment type table, and also the user's equipment. That way, it can be more simpler when you're looking at it from the user's perspective of the equipment that they are using. It'll be easier. All the IDs will point straight to the table, so it can be um, easier to read. My ER diagram, when I upload this into my query, it automatically made my indexes for me. But it made all my indexes on my IDs being those are most frequently searched for. I went back in and I put indexes on my users table for my first name, my last name, and my username. That is something, those three things is something that someone would frequently search more than an actual ID. You can't forget your first and last name. I think it's easier to remember a first and last name than it is an ID anyway. So, moving on. And all of my IDs are auto incremented. So that's kind of all that I have for my database. Um, the relationships, the relationships between the users table goes to the user status and